The drill shit is so like, it feels like from like a guy who lives in LA. Because I've gone out there. We hung out with Dusty. We hung out with who else were we with? Grand Suno, bunch of those guys.
Yeah.
But obviously the rep is a very violent, divisive genre of music, right? Have you ever got wrapped up in any of the fucking just because I'm sure you got to kind of play friends with everybody, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like, is it because and do you think it's a lot of it's overstated?
Well, I got a few opinions on that. Well, like the one thing I got caught up in was like when there was like a point where I was like, all right, like y'all doing too much like dissing on my show, like I'm not trying to do all this, right?
Right.
So I had like made a statement where that I caught a lot of flack for from people. This is like a year ago, where I was like, "Look,
I think I remember that you said like can't come diss anybody on my show.
No more name dropping,
right?
And if you do name drop, it's gonna get X'd out, right? Because I'm not trying to deal.
You don't
with
want to add to that,
right? I'm not trying to add to that. I'm not trying to politic with that. But I still want to support y'all because I believe in a lot of them.
Right.
You feel me? And I caught a lot of flack for that. But over time, like like anything, you just ride out the wave and it's cool. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody really is like upset by that anymore. They're like, oh, why can't I do that? Why can't I do that? I'm like, I'm not gonna let you use my platform as a way to like go at your ops.
Right,
like,
right.
There's other platforms that you could go do that on. Go do that on that platform. Mm-hmm. This is like, if you want to create like the like the perfect cornerstone hip hop platform, like I don't want it to be known for that.
Right.
So like that part. But I feel like, when it comes to like the music itself is like these kids, like this is what they really live in. And I feel like I think Rob Markman had also said on like Rotation Roundtable, the show that I do on Amazon. Mm-hmm. He was like, look, man, he's like, if you really listening to a lot of like, gangster rap lyrics from like 90s, early 2000s, like if you listen to like the Locks, like they saying some of the same shit that these kids are saying, they just saying it differently. Like definitely now it's more like, I feel like it's more detailed.
For sure.
But also it's not that far from what we've already gotten in the past. Mm-hmm. You feel me? And again, like these kids, like this is their real life situations. And it
just feels more, like you said, not only the detail aspect of it, but we also like back then we didn't have social media. So like motherfuckers were going live on people's blocks and like, it just feels like now it's like, damn, these guys are really doing some shit on the internet, then going and rapping about it, then getting arrested for it, and then getting sentenced. Like,
no, it's definitely dumb. Yeah. Like it's definitely dumb how they put everything on the internet.
Right.
But I'd be thinking about like if the internet was around back then, like
it'd be a wild place because then you had the hip hop police back then, and I'm sure there's hip hop police now, but back then it was like there was like a whole task force, like
right. I was even just watching this video on the way here. It was like 50 Cent. I forgot at what BET Awards it was, but it was like they're like 50 was a wild boy. Like he didn't rap the whole first verse of his song. Walked around the arena waiting to see if any of his like ops or whoever would do something, Jesus. And like and they were like, and what was the caption was like, oh, the BET Awards need to start bringing rappers back to the BET Awards who beef with each other. You know what I'm saying?
Nah.
And I was like, first of all, terrible idea.
Idea.
But at the same time, it's like, but I think about it, I'm like, okay, that was 50 back then. Now, and that's without the internet. Right. So imagine if like
that would have been all over academics and Shade Room and
right. So it's like it's not that much. When people criticize or the last generation criticizes this generation for what they do, I think it's just like you got to look in the mirror and be like, look, if social media was around when you guys were outside doing what y'all was doing, is like it wouldn't really be that different. We're all human at the end of the day. Like I wouldn't be surprised if back then you would see like somebody on IG Live talking,
no. If the internet was not around, so it's like it's different, bro. It's like. Shit, when 50 first came out, I'm not even sure MySpace was popping like that.
Definitely not.
But it's like, yeah, it's different world. Everything's online. And then also the pressure of like having to not look like a bitch because you're on the internet comes into people reacting. Maybe if they wouldn't have reacted had they not realized that the whole world would see how they would react. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But what I'd be telling them too, I'd be like, look, like sometimes like with the music that y'all make is like you have to remember that the music that you make, like, it's not just people if we're talking strictly from a New York drill perspective, it's like, it's not even just like the music. People in New York aren't just seeing this. Like, people all around the country are seeing this, and like, that affects your money at the end of the day too, because someone from, you're talking from like a West Coast perspective, if you hear them talking crazy, dissing X, Y, and Z, it's like, and you're a promoter or you're a showbook or whatever, you're Live Nation, it's like, I don't know if I want to book these kids.
Well, even like the Rolling Loud shit, like guys was getting, like they were getting banned from Rolling Loud.
Right, Ron Suno, Shy K, 22Gs, I think Dougie B too, and like, it's like, I'm like, some of this stuff, and Ron Suno didn't, I don't know why they did that to Ron Suno, but like, all this stuff can affect your money at the end of the day and your longevity. So like, let's say you have like the biggest diss record in the world, great, but like, but like,
Are you worth a liability for me to book you?
yeah, at what cost? Like,
Right.
it got you lit. Amazing, congratulations. I think that's great for you. But like, at what
Right.
cost does it then affect the rest of your money now? Because now people for the rest of time will be like, I don't know, because they a liability. Because I don't want him coming to LA, and then the
Right.
people that they're talking about move to LA too, and then now the people they talking about trying to get somebody to come to
I
the
mean,
show.
look, if you think about the nationally biggest people, obviously Pop Smoke, rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Pop.
But
of course.
pivoted into, and he didn't even get to see the success of his pivots sonically. 504 and doing a record with Alicia and like not necessarily leaning on that shit. And then
Yep.
even like, I mean, Ice Spice is rapping over drill shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
she's a pop star. It's kind of crazy. It's like really crazy.
Yeah.
Ice Spice is the closest thing that I've ever seen that if someone said that industry plants were real, which they're not. I don't believe that.
I don't believe that either. Yeah,
It's not a real thing. But if there was like some like internet rap conspiracy that Ice Spice was an industry plant, I'd be like, I understand why you think that.
Right.
Because it is just like, it's crazy. Has she done an interview besides you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Did she do like Breakfast Club or anything?
She hasn't done breakfast. She did Ebro on
Okay.
Apple One.
But she hasn't done like the traditional Hot 97.
She did Hot.
She did?
Hot.
Oh, yes,
she did
I
one
missed
Hot.
that, yeah.
She did one Hot, but it wasn't like super in depth. She doesn't do a lot of interviews. I noticed that too.
It's probably smart not to overexpose yourself.
Yeah, I think like what you were saying about like the with Pop. Like first of all, like the fact that Pop is still probably the most streamed artist in New York in terms of younger artists.
And bro, in LA, this motherfucker nonstop every single power rotation for like 2 years straight. I'm talking about like What You Know About Love is still like a sub power in LA.
Yeah,
It's crazy. Like, it sucks because he didn't get to see the,
the fruits of his labor.
100%.
Yeah.
Like I feel like part 2 of the what was the EP that he put out? Was it the before he died? It was the
Me Too Woo Too. Me Too Woo Too. Yeah. Me Too Woo Too. Yeah.
That was the last piece of work I think that came out before he passed.
Literally like 2 weeks. I think.
Yeah, and then this fucking album drops, and it's like just hit record after hit record, and it's like,
And it's crazy because this is like the album that dropped. Probably that was, I don't know. They did some call where they played us a project. I don't remember if they said it was 60% done before he passed away or something like
Right.
that. But like you imagine, it's like, okay, what if he was
Finished.
still around and he was here to finish these records and had the features on it that he wanted? Not saying that they put all those features on there because
I think 50 did a great job of like executive producing and
Same.
because like because the last album was cool, but it was definitely you're like, oh, this was like super unfinished stuff that they just pulled together, and there was so
Yeah.
many random features and shit. And
yeah, one of my mans produced one of the songs on that project, and then they switched the beat on him.
see, like that kind of shit's like it's
Or like they had 2 songs on there, the one with Busy Banks and the one with Ross Swish. Those were songs that were 100% finished before he passed away. 100% finished.
And they
I
changed
believe.
them?
No, they let him
They
on.
kept
there.
him,
But
okay.
you could tell, like when you listen to the project, you can kind of tell what records were there before he passed away versus what was kind of Frankenstein together after the fact. And like that sucks to me. Like, and I heard stories of like his friends' verses getting taken away from them and stuff like that. Like, and I don't like shit like that because I'm like, look, like he was trying to put his like Pop was always about putting his people.
Right.
Like if you watch all these interviews with him, especially the Angie interview, he talked about Chef, he talked about Sleepy, I think he talked about Busy in there, he talked about Ross Swish. I'm trying to think who else, but like he was always about putting like people who he fucked with on. So like I think that's just unfortunate that we got to a point where it's like, okay, now we're gonna throw this pop verse here, we're gonna throw this pop verse here. You know what I'm saying? Like I know there's one on Nigo's album. I don't know where that came from. Like
Right.
I think about things like that, and that shit kind of sucks. To me.
Tyga's got hella verses.
Oh, pop verses.
I think he's got 1 or 2 out. I'm like, Tyga?
He got the Sunshine one, the one with him and
Sunshine.
Janae
I feel
Aiko.
like there was another one though, or am I tripping? No, I'm thinking Tyga and him had a record together on.
Oh,
pop
yeah, the
shit.
West Coast
shit. Yeah.
I liked West Coast shit. That was a good
was
one.
cool, yeah.
But like, yeah, like you think about like I don't know if Sunshine was done before Pop passed away or not. I don't know the story behind that record, but like if it was Frankenstein together, it's like damn, like
They did a good job.
They
It
did a
wasn't
good
terrible.
job Frankenstein that one together, but it was
Wasn't
kind of
bad.
sad. Yeah.